Alright, here is the video review for Mastermind Creations reformatted R-38 knee and Foxwire. We got knee, obviously, the elemental number or signifier for nickel. Nickel is the character. And Foxwire, aka the pet, aka another person. I don't want Dominus Ambus. I was saying I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't read the comic, but it's going to be really hard to not spoil it just doing the transformation. So, yeah, Dominus Ambus, as it turns out, older relative of Minimus Ambus, rewinds whole reason for searching. They find him. So here he is as the pet, and they're both pretty cool. Now, they both have a couple of different configurations here in their alt modes. Nickel, actually, or Knee, has several. Well, three. This is, she comes packaged with these claw arms attached, not with these wings or not with this piece. You get all the different pieces to make them, but she's got a land, sea, and air mode. So this technically is her submersible vehicle mode. Now, these are the wings for jet, and personally, I would, as a submersible, I would pull these off and then kind of fold these down so the fins are there. I think that makes her look more like a submersible. Without the wings, she's got the little periscope, little grabby claw arms for exploring the depths. Without the wings, but you can have the wings on. These are the extended wings for flight mode, and then there's some standard wings for ground mode. Although, like I said, there's configurations. Now, these arms can fold up and stay on during transformation. The reason I'm showing her off here in submersible mode first is because, one, I don't like popping these on and off a lot. And two, I'm going to pop these off and I prefer them off, so I'm just going to pop them off and leave them off for the rest of the video. But they're just on little ball joints, and again, you want to be careful. Like, it's a little scary. I have not had any stress marks yet, but like every time I take my version of Voss out that MMC did, the sniper rifle guy, like something else on him has broken or breaks as I'm handling him. You'll see a little bit of that when I pop him into the video later here. But so I try to pop them. I just kind of get. Don't try to grab it from here. The farther away, the more leverage you're going to get, the more chances of stressing or cracking the plastic. You just want to kind of get it as close to the thicker post as you can, and just kind of slightly pop it out, and then plug her legs back in like that. So that was her submersible mode. Her flight mode, you replace the submersible tip with a fin. There's a lot of little pieces for Nickel that you're going to be very easy to lose. I've already had to go hunting for her tools today. So you put on a little vertical fin there, and then the extended wings. And there is Nickel's aerial mode. Again, not a whole lot of variance between the modes here, but so now she can fly. And then the basic mode, the way she comes packaged, is with, and you can see the difference in the wings here. One is it's the same wing, it's just this one's kind of been extended out for flight, I guess. But you put these on here, and then instead of a fin or a periscope, it's just a little nubbin. And there's her vehicle mode. The pet, and again, you can move these up and down, not a whole lot of articulation aside from the rolling wheels here in vehicle mode for, I guess, if you have the arms for Nickel. Foxwire, he's got a ball jointed head, a mouth that opens and closes. Now the friction, the way the head's assembled, there's a piece that slides into the back, and that is kind of responsible for the friction on his mouth. So it'll be tight or loose depending on how you've got that set. You can kind of get it halfway open. Sometimes it'll just be like, ah, it's just kind of screaming possum. But yeah, decent articulation all around. You got bicep swivels, shoulder joints, and everything you see here in Fox mode is going to be available in robot mode as well. Maybe not so much in the paws. You got the paw toes can bend a little bit there. Not exactly as, I mean, you can tell how he's going to transform. Like his robot mode head is just kind of hiding there, and it doesn't really fit if you turn it around. So, can you turn it around? Yeah, I can't even get it to turn with his yeah, it doesn't even turn all the way around. So you just kind of have his robot head hanging out there under the neck. He's got a little bit of waist articulation here, a little bit up and down here in the middle. The knees, paws, and the feet and the toes, again, can bend. The tail has a little bit of articulation here thanks to a ball joint. And this has you can see because this tail separates, and it's kind of tricky to get these at the first time to get these all lined up. But basically, when you're putting the tail together for beast mode, you can see the big flat shiny head of the pin that holds it together there, and you should see that on both sides. And if you do that and then align them up, and there's a little peg on one of them that goes into the other one when it's separated. I'll show that off during transformation. But if you can see the big flat head of the pin on both sides, you've got and they're pinched together, you've got it aligned properly. The little missiles, they can flip in or out here, and they rotate. Now these are just on a peg. They're not pinned on or anything. They're just friction pegged onto. So these will probably come off while you're transforming it or messing with it. They stay on pretty well, and you can rotate them around, but if you move them too much, it's very easy to just friction them right off. Again, not broken, it's just how they're attached. They're not pinned on or secured in any way. So there are the two of them, all done in their beast modes. One of the things, and like I said, my general consensus on these is they feel like a slight step back from Mastermind creations. I can't 100% quantify what makes me feel that way. There's some interesting transformations. Their likeness to the characters they're supposed to be is good. Just something about them feels weird. Like, they're just not... It feels different in hand. And if I can quantify it, I will do my best to do so. But I just... It's just a feeling. They just don't feel quite as... Granted, the last thing of theirs, Masterminds that I got was the Ocular Max Saltus, which is a different aesthetic, different design choices, and it could just be that shift back to the more intricate, kind of detailed, reformatted line. But he does also, the beast, I forgot, or the pet, does have this little chain leash. This is actually kind of a neat accessory. It pegs in right here. And this is part of the reason, like, I'll get into it a little later too, but one of the downsides of this is it pegs into this panel on his chest, which feels like it should have been glued on. And that's not even like a residue of glue. That's just like some flash from the mold. But like, it feels like it should have been glued on because it's not a piece that needs to come off. Like, it's not like this is only here for the leash, because also when you transform into robot mode, there's a peg on the beast chin that pegs into this chest. This should be a permanent attachment, but it comes off very easily. So you take the leash, and there's a peg on that, and you put that on there. So if you want him to be the DJD beast, he has the leash. Also, he has here's his regular head. He has and there's the piece I was talking about that slides out and controls the jaw piece. It's just friction pegged on. Let me put his ears back on. Again, but the ball joint just pop off to swap the heads. But it's just pegs on here. So that might benefit from being glued on. And then, like I said, how hard you have that pushed forward depends on the tension on his jaw there. But yeah, so you pop his head off. He also comes with a battle-damaged head. He's got like some electronics. He's got green eyes. This eye's slightly damaged. This ear's torn up. Although I like the design of this head a little better. I may use that pull out the piece trick and swap out the longer ear onto this side just because I like it better. But you can put that on. Yeah. And you just snap the ball joints together. And there you go. Come on, fold down. And then the leash, it can be held by anybody with a 5mm, so if you want to bring in their K-On, you can have him hold the beast leash. Like that. I guess with the beast mode there, we can This is kind of how we met the DJD before we were introduced to nickel later on in the series. So there's all of them. You can see also, I was going to bring this over in a second, you got the comic book instruction manual and the little nice plastic bio cards that come packaged with them. You can drop your camera because the friction joint got loose while you were moving it around. Been a while since I shot an in-depth one of these, so although we got a lot of neat stuff coming, some stuff that I don't want to talk about yet, but some neat stuff on the way for the channel. So anyway, on to there's the pet. All told, we'll put them off to the side. We'll bring them back in once we get me transformed. Okay, I swear to God, your feet had better stay flat so you don't fall backwards or I will scream. Anyway, let's come back down and focus on the robots. We'll talk to them about that in robot mode. So we'll go ahead and pop this off. And again, it will, unless yours is secured better than mine, it will pop this panel off, which needs to go back on his chest. Set the leash off to the side. Let's do a Foxwire first here. So he's very basic. The head comes down, and as mentioned, again, either head, this little tabs into his chest. Just like that, revealing his head. The main comes back. You can see this whole panel comes around. It'll get, depending on how it is, because this collapses. If this isn't collapsed all the way, you might hit a little bit of a snag, but the main folds down and folds all the way on. If you clip in, it folds flat against his back like that. Make sure it's right up against that plastic. Then you go ahead and bring the legs down, take the torso and collapse the torso until it snaps into place. You can fold the ears kind of back along, really however you want, but back along his body. Bring the arms. These entire silver pieces rotate. I like to bring them in so they kind of rotate into the proper. What am I doing here? To kind of fill in that space, but I don't know that there's an official position for them because they don't push in or out like the rear legs do. If these pushed in, you'd want them to line up, but I don't know. And then the legs, extend them out there at the knee. Push them in at the hips. You can fold the missile launchers over so they kind of sit a little closer to his body. The feet, flip out the heel spurs. If you can get in there to get them. Spudger helps. Again, thanks to Diecast for the spudger at TFCon DC a couple years ago. Rotate the knee around, rotate the foot around. Same here. Just below the knee, flip out the heel spur, flip that around. The arms, the paw lifts up, rotates around at the wrist, and then folds up again. There's a tab on the top of the foot that tabs into the back of the arm like that. Doesn't click lock into place, but enough. And then the tail, as mentioned, the tail splits right down the middle. Come on, you. All right. And then it's on two separate pieces. And you can see what I was talking about. If you can see the shiny flat pin on the top and bottom. And you can see there's a little bit of a nub here on this one, on the upper half, that fits into a slot or peg hole on the lower one. So as long as you've got those twisted the right way, the supports the right way, and then you just tab them together. And then for the robot mode, they just kind of bring them up. They just kind of sit back here. There's kind of like coattails here in his robot mode. But there is Dominus Ambus / Foxwire in robot mode. And you can have these points straight up, however you want to do the little beast bits. You can, like the tail, you can arrange pretty much however you wish. Decent posability. He's got all the posability of the cat. I mean, like I said, it's pretty much the same joints. You got the shoulder, the bicep swivel, dual hinges at the elbow. He does have a ball-jointed wrist. The hands themselves are just closed plastic fists. He does have a ball joint at the head. Oh, I guess you can turn his head around. But, yeah, you risk popping it off because that panel right behind his head flips around. That may have been what was keeping it from turning all the way around in beast mode. Decent hips, ball joint hips. Again, you can extend them out to get a little bit more range of motion if you need to for posing. Knees, does have a knee swivel, ball joint there at the ankle, and then the toes. So all in all, it's a fun Dominus Ambus. It makes me a little sad that I don't have a high quality figure of just. I would love just a standalone Minimus Ambus figure that turns into like the little Minesweeper hover car that we saw in the comics. I know Iron Factory, I think they're doing a Final Armor Magnus or City Commander that will have a smaller Minimus that transforms, which I'm looking forward to. And we'll see how that turns out. On to Nickel. I'll go ahead and put him off to the side here. She has kind of a neat transformation. So the legs come out like this, and then you collapse them down like this. Now, you can see there's kind of a little extended piece, and that's actually a little tab here. Normally, like they slide fairly easily to about right there. But you want to clip them in so that there's no gap here. So this white piece comes straight down to the red. That little tab doesn't lock the wheels, but it has a lot more friction because you can see there's little tabs here on the wheels that fold out to form her feet. And once this locks into place, she'll be able to support herself. Right now, like if her feet were this loose, she'd just flip right over when you stood her up. But you want to make sure that you can see, they don't have to be exactly lined up, but you want to make sure that you can see both toes before you click this into place, because otherwise if one of these is folded up in here, I've had this tab catch on the edge of this and you aren't able to rotate the foot anymore. So make sure both those toes are visible before you click that all the way in. And now the wheel turns much tighter, has enough friction to support itself, and then you can flip out the toes. We'll do that later. But again, slide this down into, which I want this going. Yeah, there we go. Into the leg. And then make sure the toes are visible. And then snap it all the way down. There we go. And then take her waist piece, clip it up. You'll hear it snap it so it's vertical to the body. Bring the knees around. Oh no, did I do this backwards? No, I didn't. Oh, I did. All right. So rotate it. Make sure the knee bends backwards before you lock it into place, because this piece is always in the same alignment, but it's not. So I did this one backwards. So there we go. And did I do this one backwards? It appears that I did. Okay, so there's on this piece there's a squared off bit and a rounded bit. Make sure the rounded bit is facing backwards. Just like that. Easy enough to fix. All right. All right. So there are legs. Pull these, lift the kind of boosters back like this. Come up here, fold the wheels out like this. Pull this whole assembly out to the side. And then it's not just out to the side. You want to, you can see there's a little tab here. You want to pull it all the way out on this hinge closer to the body. Fold it around and snap it into the back here. Same on this side. And then come out here and on the body, lift, before you do anything else, lift the upper half up, and it'll kind of start to come apart on its own, but make sure you lift it up, and then you can slide these pieces out to the side of the body like this, and then this piece right here needs to come out, extends out like this, which allows the head to come out, but also it allows these tabs to tabs on the side of the lighter blue piece to lock into it. No, go. like that, and then that gives you the room to flip her head up and turn it around to face forward, and then you can bring this assembly up. Some of this stuff doesn't lock into place, which is a little annoying, but oh well. These wheels, instead, they don't just sit here to the side. It said fold them in, and you don't fold them up and around. You want to kind of fold them up like that so they're inside that hinge. Again, take it, instead of trying to fold them around or fold them all the way around, push it down, and then just keep pushing that up so that hinge goes in, and the wheel kind of nestles up into the body. Like that, and then the arms, you want to just kind of, you may have to twist them a little bit, but pull them down so you can see now this piece is sitting down flat along the arm. The outer armor rotates toward the body to cover that gap, and then flip out her hands like this, and she's got a little medical communicator on either hand, and rotate her waist around so it's facing the proper way. Fold those in on our back. Let's get a little tight. And then flip out her feet. Like I said, now, and then you just position them so they're flat, but now she has the friction to hold herself up. And there is Nickel. And she comes with, again, I've had to go hunting for these a couple times already. She comes with several little tools that you can hang off these little hooks. Be very careful with these hooks. I've heard reports of breakage. And you see these just kind of hang loosely on her hooks. And I can see how if you're not careful with these, they could catch on that piece. It's very thin plastic. And it's kind of that brittly plastic. Also, these fins right here, you can see they've got some give to them. I don't know if this is rubbery plastic or if it's just the amount of movement I'm getting out of it is just because it's long, thin plastic. But just be careful. Like I haven't stressed them at all, but I mean I could easily see any of these pieces snapping during transformation. So be careful. And there she is with all of her little tools hanging off of her. She does have some various expressions, and again, now that I've put the tools on her, I'm not going to try to turn around to unscrew it, but like, you just unscrew the back of her head here, and you can swap out her, see, these tools are going to get lost. But she's got her neutral face that she comes with, a screamy face. This is more of kind of an angry, oh my god, scream face. This is more of a surprise face. And then she's got a happy face. So however you want Nickel to feel, you can swap out her face. And the last thing that she comes with is Voss in sniper rifle mode. Like an individual sniper rifle with a handle she can hold. I think you could probably, again, I haven't risked it because I've had some issues losing these tools. I think you can probably get her tool into her hands there. But it comes with a special handle for her that you can see that uses the kind of groove method. So she can hold Voss if need be. Although super oversized for her. But she can wield him. And you can shorten this a little bit so it fits in her arm. That's just to show that she can hold it. As for the rifle itself, it does have a little foldable scope or screen on it. I don't know what you'd use that for, but you know, it's there. Tripod, foldable tripod. The scope can come off, and again, I don't know if this is supposed to be glued on or supposed to be removable. That does not extend. It does not look like. But you slide the scope on, and then it's got an extendable stock. Also, this handle fits Nickel's hands. It's small and designed for her hands. It does come with a handle for larger robots. So any of the other DJD members or other figures like their Megatron could hold it. And to get this out, the constructions kind of show it, but you want to kind of tilt it because it goes in like this and then snaps up into place. So to get it out, again, apply pressure. For this handle, it's not so bad, I've noticed, but put pressure up right up by where it attaches to the body and just kind of leverage it out and then slide it out. This handle is the one that came attached to it, and this one is much more solidly attached in there. So again, you just kind of put the tip up in there and then angle it, snap it up into place, and then your other robots can hold it. To get this one off, again, this is the one you really want to worry about, because if you put too much pressure down here and it gets stuck, you're going to stress and possibly snap it right up here. But if you get right up here against the rifle, it can still happen, but it's less likely. But it does take a little bit, until you get used to it, it takes a scary little bit more amount of pressure than Nickel's handle does, at least on mine. Now, it could be opposite on yours, depending on how these little notches are carved. Maybe hers is more difficult to get out than this one, but still, just something to be aware of. Anyway, let's put the longer handle on here. Snap it back into place, and then you can have, let's get tar in here. Okay, let's go up here, and so you can see now he can hold the rifle, and you can extend that stock back, and still have a Voss in your DJD. It's especially nice because then he's technically represented in your DJD without having to use your Synicus, which by this point has very likely crumbled into nothingness. So yeah. And then he's gonna get duplicated here. Since all this stuff, but there's the actual DJD team that we will. Oh, we have the two bigger guys are coming. Let's put Dominus in there, just because even though he was mostly their brainless pet that they had tortured and captured, there he is with them. But yeah, it's a nice little set. Like I said, it has some issues. There are some very delicate spots you're going to want to be careful with on these guys. But a nice addition. Like I said, I think visually they capture the characters that they're supposed to be capturing very well. Nickel's transformation is interesting enough to be fun. Again, Foxwire is kind of basic for a quadruped to a bipedal robot. Like I said, when I say like these feel like a little bit like a step backwards, I really think it's Foxwire more that I'm talking about. He just feels, and I know that he didn't have a whole lot of characterization as Dominus in this form in the comics, or a whole lot of really screen time in this robot form to get a look on it. The beast mode looks good. I think it represents the character well. It's just, maybe it's just because I don't have as much attachment to him as I do to his brother. But he seems very bland and basic, whereas Nee looks is actually quite expressive, again, with swappable faces. But a neat transformation and a neat robot design. I love the wheel feet. I think that's a really neat idea. So I guess when I'm thinking about it, I'm just thinking of Foxwire. I think Nee is really the star of the set here, whereas Foxwire is just kind of a, hey, we need, it makes more sense to package them together, and both being fairly small figures and stuff. I think the set's worth getting. Like I said, Nickel is a lot of fun. Like I said, I've liked the character design. So and it comes with enough accessories to make her different. Between the different modes. Like I said, I do recommend. The submersible mode is neat. I do recommend just using one of the other modes so that you don't have to have these claws. You can leave them on in any mode. And again, if they were on, because see, that's the thing. If they were on her body here in robot mode, they would be. They'd be sitting here on the insides of her legs. This is the ball joint right here that they snap into, I believe. Oh no, they'd be on the outside of the legs. They'd be right here. So you'd basically be. And like I said, they're a neat idea, and they certainly don't look horrible sitting there on the legs. I mean, they don't look great, but they don't look horrible. It's just they are much like all these pieces up there. They're tight enough that like just leverage wise, the poles themselves are so thin that just the friction and the leverage you need to move them, unless you grab them like this, I just feel like they would break easily. So I'm going to happily just kind of toss these into the box with all the other small bits that could easily get lost in a Ziploc bag and keep them safe that way so they don't break on the character, as well as these tools. As neat as it is to have her little tools hanging off of her, I'm not going to display her on the shelf because those are very hard to find on a kitchen floor. Just trust me on that. It's not, doesn't take a whole lot of effort to have them come flying off. You can see there's two. Just picking her up, two just fell off. Granted, I picked her up a little haphazardly, but still. I can see a jostle or a bump sending one of these into the carpet. And like I said, it was hard enough on a kitchen floor, which was like tile, and they couldn't go into the carpet. I could see that being a nightmare. Anyway, enough pontificating. There is Foxwire and knee, R-38 from Mastermind Creations Reformatted line.